Hi, it's Tessa LaFresto here, and I wanted to talk about happiness. So I've been thinking a lot about happiness lately because uh, we all like it. I'm a happy person. I'm generally known as pretty happy, but I'm not happy all the time, and I think that happiness is something that I want to feel more of, and I've talked to other people. And I think in general, I think a lot of people want to find more happiness, no matter how happy they are. Everybody wants more of it. And I think about it with my kids. When I'm talking about my kids and I talk about them growing up, one of the first things I say is, well, I want them to be happy. And then I have boys, so I talk about them being, gentlemen and um, being able to provide and do other things. But, when it all boils down to it, I think I want them to be happy, and that's what most of us want. So this is actually, I have been researching happiness. It sounds kind of crazy, but there's actually kind of a science to it, I guess, which I really never knew about. So I have been researching it and studying it, and I wanted to share the information I've been finding. I've been so excited about it because when you think of something as a science, you think, oh, that's pretty straightforward. It's not something that's elusive and far away. It's something that is attainable. So I wanted to share. So this is actually going to be a series, and so far I've studied four different people. So tonight, and don't worry, I called it Happiness Hour. It's not an hour. I could not. I probably could talk for an hour, but I'm not gonna. Nobody's got time for that. So, but I am talking about just one researcher's uh, theories and information on happiness. And this gentleman's name is Sean Aker, and I actually have not read his book. I've found information about him in another book I'm reading. It's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, and there's a whole section on happiness. The Slight Edge is all about creating little habits and repeating them every day to kind of gain a slight edge. And he has a chapter on happiness and happy habits. So he first talks about how we all think about happiness as something we pursue and go after, and that if we accomplish this or we lose weight or we do this, we'll feel happiness. And Mr. Olson says, quite untrue. It is completely the other way around, that you find the happiness and then you will have the success. So success doesn't lead to happiness. Happiness leads to success, and it leads to success in all different kinds of things. So he is a big fan of Mr. Uh, Aker, and I listened to some of his talks. He's got TED Talk. Um, he has his own books. He's an author, but he's a researcher of happiness. And I'm not going to go into a lot of the history of it about how this positive philosophy is a science, but there's people that they started researching happiness. And this guy actually has written a book, and he also gives workshops on happiness. And so in his workshops, he actually has 5 specific tips and methods of how people can actually increase their happiness. Okay, so he talks about building happy habits. And before I share what they are, I wrote them down. I want to warn you and say he does not recommend implementing all 5 habits into your life. What he says about the habits, these are the 5 that he likes best, and there are many other ones which I'm not going to talk about tonight. This is Sean Aker's night. So I'm just presenting what I learned from this guy who's totally awesome. I love what he has to say. And so he talks about these 5 habits, these 5 methods, but he says, do not go, and make a plan and do all of them. Just pick one. Pick one, make it your own. and focus on that every single day. All these are daily habits. And he says, do that for 21 days, and you'll start to actually solidify the habit. And more than that, what he says is not only you building that habit, you're actually beginning to rewire your brain to be happier on a daily basis. So it's not something you want to just do and stop. You're building the habit so that you can continue to do that. And none of these take too long. These are all things that just take a few minutes. So without further ado, you're like, come on, how do we be happy? So this is what Mr. Aker says. So first suggestion, he says, I hope this isn't backwards. It's backwards to me, probably not to you. That's not how my brain works. My brain doesn't work to be able to know. So anyway, if it's backwards, no worries. I'm going to read it and talk about it. So you write down 3 things you're grateful for. So he says morning. He's the expert. I would go with that. And the key about this is you have to write them down. And it is backwards. Okay. That's okay. I don't know how to write backwards, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So you write down 3 things you're grateful for. The key is writing it down, and also that you're not repeating things on a day-to-day basis. You're thinking of 3 different things every day. So it doesn't have to be grandiose. It's just what you're grateful for. So that is one idea. That's one habit you could build to increase your overall happiness, which will then spread into other areas of your life. Suggestion number 2. I don't even see the point in holding it up if it's backwards. He says you can journal about 1 positive experience in the last 24 hours. And he didn't say when this one should be done. So within the last 24 hours, just think of something that was a positive experience and then write for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes. Have a journal or not. The journal's nice. You can compile it because you're going to be doing it every day, but write for 2 minutes about every detail of that experience in as much as you remember. And the purpose of that, he says, is that you're re-experiencing it as you write it, and then you're really increasing the chances of basically just doubling that positive feeling that you got from that. And, this is, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to talk about kind of my thoughts really. At the end of my series, I'm going to put together my own thoughts, but if you know me, you know that I'm just not going to stop myself. And what I want to say is, how often do we relive the negative experiences? I was just talking about this to a friend and my husband of how, this one little negative experience, every day I was thinking about it, every single day, and it was negative. So that's really easy to do. We don't, and we do. We definitely think about our positive things. Like, I still think about when I went to Cancun, or I still think about, my son's just like epic, event that he had, his 53 in Vegas. But we relive those, but let's put some effort. So that's what he is saying. Just journal, 2 minutes, 1 positive experience that happened within the last 24 hours. Okay, his third habit is meditate. And, okay, I know when I hear that, it's like, oh, meditate, that's a big deal. He says, no, it's not. He says, don't make it fancy, no big deal. He wants you to take 2 minutes again, and you just want to focus, push out all the negative, and just be calm, be quiet, close your eyes. If you're a meditator, forgive me, because you could probably describe it a lot better, but it's just be still and be calm. 2 minutes where you're just training your brain to focus on what you want it to focus on. So that was his third idea. And fourth habit, random acts of kindness. And we've heard this before. We've heard it a lot. And he actually, because he's doing these workshops and he's giving, specific advice, he actually gives one of them. And you could leave this to interpret it how you want. He does say whatever random act of kindness you want to do every day. But the one he suggests, I really love. I love it because it's an area of my life that I enjoy doing. I know it makes me happy. And also I feel I could be better at it. And he just says email, send a note, to one person and either thanking them for something kind that they did, something they did, or praising them for something. So simple, right? I mean, simple. Every day, once a day, a couple minutes. And I think that is a great idea. And then, okay, like you're really gonna laugh at this one. I did, but seriously, it's in the book. I promise. I did not make this one up. I really didn't. And I'm going to give it to you backwards because I think it's funny. Exercise. So, of course, it makes sense. And I'm just presenting what he says. Exercising, he says 15 minutes. Again, he doesn't have to be anything special. It could be a walk, whatever you like. That's what he's talking about. And just exercise. And he actually does go in the readings. He goes into the why of it and what that can do, which I won't go into. But those are the 5 habits he talks about. And then just to kind of review, you do not want to implement all of these habits, right off the bat. He says it's much better. And this is true for other habits I know I've tried to implement in my life. Whenever I try to make a list and do a bunch of things, fail. So just pick one. You want to pick one, you want to make it your own, and just go for it. And this is supposed to be making you happier, and who doesn't want that? So I did have a couple other things that he says that I wanted to make sure I passed along, and I'm looking for it right now. So actually, I'll just kind of finish up with, no, that's actually it. Like I said, this is something I'm really excited about it. I'm calling it a series because this is just one guy. And there's much more information out there that I've been digging into, and I want to share it because it's really good stuff. So I'm going to have another happy hour, probably tomorrow. I'm going to have at least 4 of them. The time may change because tomorrow during this time, I'm actually going to be working. I'm going to be coaching. So it may be a different hour. It may not be 5:30, but look for it. And I wanted to thank you for listening in. And if you liked what you heard, go ahead and put a comment below just to say what you thought. And I'd love to hear if you're actually going to apply any of these habits and which one. And that would just make my day to be able to see that. And appreciate your time. And look for more information from the experts tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.